We've spent a good part of the previous few decades laughing at them. We love to pick their technology apart and give them extra scrutiny and ridicule. Because the Chinese were great at copying, but pasting it was another matter altogether. But they've become very good very quickly. As you'll soon see, the COMAC C919 is now no longer just a headline, but a serious contender. Just like how I'm so excited about the next Chinese electric car, this aircraft, I reckon, would be the one to take them into the future.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
G'day guys and welcome back to my video. 今天我们将乘搭中国国际航空从北京首都国际机场飞往上海虹桥国际机场。That's right, I'm coming to you from Beijing Capital International Airport. And today we're getting on board Air China. And this is going to be the first time I'm doing a Chinese domestic flight on my channel. And I'm also extra excited because I'm getting on board the COMAC C919. So fingers crossed that there'll be no equipment swaps today. And let's get this journey started to see what this experience is gonna be like. Let's do this.
Everybody just do your thing.
If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. Born and bred in Singapore, I now call Australia home, and I create heaps of travel content. So, the tribe has officially spoken. What you want is what you'd get. Therefore, the main focus of this travel series will be on airlines and their alliances. In fact, I cover all three of them: Star Alliance, One World, and SkyTeam. These sectors will be spread out amongst 3 classes, 8 airlines, 10 flights, spread out over 10 days covering 4 countries and 1 territory. For those who still like to watch me eat, I do a bit of that in Singapore and Hong Kong. These videos will be linked in the description below in chronological order, as and when they're published. If you'd like to make a direct impact into the growth of my channel, give me a like and share this video with a friend. Even better, hit subscribe and the bell icon so you won't miss what's coming up. So here's a heartfelt thanks from down under. Before we do a deep dive into today's aircraft we're flying on, let's quickly touch on Air China to give this video a bit of context. When the People's Republic of China was formed in 1949, the Communist Party's Central Committee created the Civil Aviation Administration of China, or CAAC, to oversee aviation regulations governing the country. Out of this organization, an airline was formed in July 1952, and this airline was named, well, CAAC Airlines. In Mandarin, it read 中国民航, literally translated into Chinese People's Airline. It functioned as a monopoly for many decades until 1988, when the Central Committee decided to decentralize their rule, which allowed different regions of China some degree of autonomy over their own affairs. And this resulted in CAAC Airlines getting split up into 6 entities, each airline to represent their respective geographical base, and henceforth to manage their own financial affairs and business development. Throughout the early 2000s, we saw a period of consolidation when these 6 airlines began merging with each other, which resulted in 3 major airlines which we are so familiar with today. Air China, being the official national airline, is the only one to fly the Chinese flag on the fuselage. And if you think the livery looks familiar, well, it hasn't changed since the days of CAAC. Has it stood the test of time? You tell me in the comments. Air China, being the official flag carrier, is naturally based in Beijing Capital Airport. They also operate another hub out of Beijing Daxing Airport. Since they've absorbed China's Southwest Airlines in 2002, they've also inherited that airline's base in Chengdu. Therefore, Air China additionally has hubs at the two Chengdu airports of Shuangliu and Tianfu. They've been a member of the Star Alliance since 2006. And with the average operational revenue shown on your screen now, by that virtue, it's the world's 10th largest airline.
Alrighty, check-in done. So I've got the boarding pass in my hand for the flight to Shanghai Hongqiao. This is the thing, right? Because even though I'm ethnically Chinese, born in Singapore, my forefathers have come from Xiamen in southern China. A lot of us, even though we speak Mandarin, we can't necessarily read it very well. So I tried to do the the self-check-in kiosk. I couldn't get it to change over to an English menu. So I was prodding away, trying to figure out the words, what's what, what's where, and to no success. So I had no choice but to do the manual check-in, which took a while because a lot of I noticed a lot of Chinese travelers, they travel with a lot of check-in baggage. That took quite a while to complete. So anyway, boarding pass in my hand now. So it's time to explore this gigantic Beijing Capital Airport. This airport it's really huge. I don't recall when was the last time I've seen such a huge airport like this, but yeah, I thought Hong Kong was big, but this is even bigger.
Indeed, this is Terminal 3 at Beijing Capital Airport. Construction was completed in time for the 2008 Beijing Summer Olympics. At its opening, it was the largest man-made structure ever built. This airport terminal, together with hosting a major event like the Olympics, was a huge historical moment for the country. Besides those two momentous occasions, 2008 also marked the year when the COMAC C919 program was launched. This isn't China's first foray into manufacturing planes. When the country was opened up to the world, McDonnell Douglas Assembly License was given to Shanghai Aviation Industrial Corporation in 1987, which saw Chinese-manufactured MD-80s getting delivered to the newly formed airlines under the previous CAAC umbrella. There was also the Xi'an MA-60, which is based on the Russian Antonov 24. Deliveries of those aircraft types began in 2000 and presently fly for about 16 airlines around the world. And then we have the Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China, COMAC, which is the focus of today's video. Before C919, they manufactured the ARJ21. Obvious relations to the MD-80 is obvious, because the previous reiteration of COMAC was in partnership with McDonnell Douglas, which assembled the MD-80s in China. After that relationship fell apart, China refused to return the tooling used, which explains the ARJ's strange proportions, like it's been inbred, resulting in genetic deformation. With lessons learned from the ARJ21, the C919 set out to right the wrongs of that previous aircraft. The design of C919 has been drawn up with the help of a Chinese-developed Tianhe-2 supercomputer, in an effort to give it a profile which is neither Boeing nor Airbus. Construction of the first prototype began in December 2011. Despite this being a Chinese aircraft, this model contains literally heaps of components supplied by the Western world. In fact, the bulk of the materials, avionics, power systems, engines, and airframe bits and bobs come from the US and Europe. Since international aircraft certification falls to either one of these two regions, suppose this was a strategic decision. But this would lead to further complications, which I will explore further into the video. This afternoon, We were boarding a flight between Beijing capital and Shanghai Hongqiao, which is China's busiest passenger air route. Ferrying just over 7.7 million passengers in 2024, it's also the world's 9th busiest. Operating flight CA1549 was Bravo 919 Yankee, a COMAC C919-100, which was delivered to Air China in November 2024. So this airframe is spanking new at less than 6 months old when I took this flight. This is my first experience with Air China. I gotta say, the service is extremely formal. On entering the cabin, there is an immediate sense of space, because the aisle is a lot wider. I've flown countless of hours on the 737 and the Airbus A320, so I board those planes like it's an everyday occurrence. You'll notice the extra space immediately, although it's not evident in this wide-angle footage. Air China has configured their C919s with 8 seats in business and 150 in standard economy. It's the most spacious layout amongst the 3 present C919 operators. This cabin is absolutely gorgeous. If you've been on the A320, up that by a couple of notches. These air nozzles are bathed in blue ambient lights, which reminds me of the vents on the Mercedes-Benz. Seat front-wise, you'll have the standard device holders with a single tray table. Seat pitch is at 31 inches with a couple of USB ports down there. Seat pockets are broken into portions for easy storage, which is always appreciated. These seats are incredibly thin though, with no adjustable headrests, and recline is no different from a low-cost airline. For those of you with a coat hook fetish, Air China didn't forget about you. Oh, by the way, those ambient lights around the air nozzles also doubles as your overhead lights. This is a very well put together and commendable effort of a modern cabin. Although by modern, it also sees these extremely thin seats, which are sadly the norm by today's modern standards. Anyone's perky bottom would be so flat by the end of this flight. The very first C919 prototype was completed in 2015. Over the next 5 years, together with several other prototypes, flight tests were carried out rigorously over several proving scenarios. These included extreme weather operations, low and high-speed taxi, aircraft performance with engines, passenger facilities, so on and so forth. One of the first validation exercises for this aircraft type was with the European Aviation Safety Agency, which required a minimum of 4,200 hours of testing for the C919, which is far higher than the 3,000 hours required for the Boeing 737 and the Airbus A320. The validation with the Europeans is still ongoing at the time of editing this video. It is expected to be certified for sale in the EU by 2030. I promise, there were no enhancements and adjustments done to the audio. The takeoff was that quiet and very smooth, which really caught me by surprise. This northerly takeoff would soon turn right and head south towards Tianjin, Shandong, and further south towards Suzhou, before heading towards Shanghai. An approach from the south would see us land in Shanghai Hongqiao Airport, completing this flight in 2 hours 25 minutes, covering a distance of just over 1,080 kilometers. By the time 2020 rolled about, the C919 finally received its aircraft inspection certificate from CAAC, which means the design and specifications have been finalized and no major changes can be made to its structure. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, assembly of further tail numbers now focused on commercial production in preparation for its first delivery to, surprisingly, it wasn't the flag carrier Air China, but it was destined for China Eastern Airlines. As the pandemic restrictions began to wane, further proving flights were done in preparation for entry into commercial service. And by September 2022, the COMAC C919 finally received its airworthiness certificate, and the first operational airframe was delivered to China Eastern Airlines in December that year.
飞机现在我们的飞机保持在8900米高度上飞行，飞行速度约800公里每小时。我们的预计空中飞行时间大约是1小时45分钟。在路途中，如果您有时需要帮助去客舱乘务座这些，感谢您对我们服务的理解支持，谢谢。Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This is Douglas speaking. We are glad to be of service. Aircraft C919 flying as out of 8,900 meters with a cruising speed of 800 kilometers per hour. Our total flight time is about 1 hour and 45 minutes. If there's anything we can do for you during the flight, please call the cabin attendants. We hope you will enjoy the flight. Thank you.
At the time of writing, there are presently 3 operators of the C919, which are unsurprisingly the 3 major airlines in China. While they all feature similar business class seats, it's right here in economy class where they differ slightly. The most comfy looking one definitely goes to China Eastern Airlines, whereas Air China and China Southern seem to have similar seats, or at least that's what the photos online seem to suggest. On full-service airlines, a hot meal is served on domestic flights. They arrived in these C919 branded boxes, which I thought was rather interesting. And the contents within was a little random though. In China, in-flight meals usually come with a packet of pickles. And this was a main of chicken with rice, and a cinnamon croissant, and a chocolate pudding, which was once again specially branded for this flight. This meal is as good as an economy class meal can get on a domestic flight. Generous chunks of chicken thighs lusciously covered in a heavily flavored sauce to compensate for our taste buds going numb up here. Although for a flight of this length, I noticed that the pre-meal bar service was left out. We were not offered any additional drinks besides the cup of water which came in the box, and that bottle which was left in the seat pocket when we boarded. I'm sure if you asked for another drink, the cabin crew would have gladly obliged. I need to point out though, how great the service was at this stage. The formal style of service is very evident because everyone seemed rehearsed and never went off script. The gentle bows and the soft tone was the underlying service style. Although the male flight attendants tend to be slightly more curt compared to their female colleagues. This seriously felt like Japan Airlines, but the Chinese version. The very first commercial service for C919 finally occurred on the 28th of May in 2023 with China Eastern Airlines flight MU9191 departing Shanghai Hongqiao bound for Beijing Capital Airport. Pretty much the same route I was on today, but in reverse. At the time of writing, there are just over 1,000 aircraft on order. But interestingly, a significant portion of these are destined for finance leasing companies based in China. The largest outstanding orders are of course from China Southern and China Eastern at 105 aircraft each. And Air China isn't far behind with their outstanding orders for 100 planes. This project isn't without controversy though. Between 2010 to 2015, the project's foreign components suppliers, which included companies like Emetec, Capstone Turbine, GE Aviation, Honeywell, Safran, and amongst many others, had their intellectual property and industrial processing data stolen by Chinese cyber spies. This was all with the intention to transition component manufacturing to Chinese companies. 4 people were arrested in the US in 2019 as a result of this investigation. Another arrest was made in November 2022 when a Chinese intelligence agent was found to have played a key role in a plot to steal trade secrets from Western aerospace firms for the purpose of helping the C919 program. He was later sentenced to 20 years in prison. Ultimately, to sum up the COMAC C919, this aircraft has been built to be a challenger to the current duopoly dominated by the Airbus A320 and the Boeing 737. A single-aisle twin-engine aircraft with a capacity for just under 200 passengers. To date, a total of $49 billion have been spent on this program, signaling this aircraft is here to stay for the long term. Putting the espionage episode aside, if we were to just look at this aircraft by technical specifications, it has a slightly higher fuel burn, but this is down to the CFM engine used. Its range of 4,139 kilometers also falls below the regular Airbus A320 and the Boeing 737. However, this aircraft is an average 20 tons lighter than the incumbents, so it's a mixed bag of good and bad. After this aircraft gets certified for international flights outside of China, which is a matter of when, not if, then begins the uphill task of convincing global airlines to overcome their Chinese bias to consider the COMAC C919. Ryanair is seriously considering it and just waiting for the right price and the completion of the European certification. There is now the complicated issue of the US trade war, which has thrown the supply chain into disarray since a bulk of their components are made in the US. With a 125% tariff applied onto these components, it has put the program into a temporary tailspin. 125% today, 245% tomorrow. Who knows what will happen in the next second? Whatever it is, there is no denying the C919 is an impressive piece of equipment just based on its merits. And the first impression, at least on a personal level, is a bloody good one. Everyone has a level of Chinese bias, whether we'd like to admit it or not. So the best thing to do is to make a trip to China for yourself and form your own opinions, because I can only say so much on this video. For now, it's time to wrap things up as we arrive into Shanghai Hongqiao 国际机场, and let's join live Ryan in Shanghai to close this video up. And welcome to Shanghai, everyone. So that was my experience with Air China on the COMAC C919, and I'm here, bright lights, big city, Shanghai city skyline behind me. So I'll be here overnight before I'll continue my journey tomorrow. So I'll leave details of my Instagram on your screen right now, so hit me up there, chuck me a follow so you can come along with me on my travels in real time. Do not forget to hit subscribe and the bell notification icon, and I'll see you for the next episode of this travel series. Bye!